Well, back again, brothers. It's been a while since we've been able to do a covert show. We tried to kind of do something with Andor, and that just kind of fell flat because, to be honest with you, I don't think any of us were kind of really interested in continuing that journey, even though I did watch it to the end. I believe, Sai, you did too, right?
Oh yeah, I actually really enjoyed that show. I really did.
Okay. Okay. I found it kind of lacking in certain areas. I care more
Yeah.
about Mon Mothma than I do the main character, so we kind of bailed on it. But we're back,
Yeah.
and with us today we have a special guest. But before I get to the special guest, of course, joining me is Jedi Joe. We have Simon from the Priory, who is our historian, and of course, my brother in arms, Dakar. Um, Today, guys, I wanted to bring this guy to your attention because I was going around on my reels on Facebook and I saw it, and I just thought about us about this. So I want to introduce you guys to this gentleman right here. But before we do that, let's do this. Pop him up on the main screen here. His videos are very interesting. I love to hear what he has to say because he has a nice take on a lot of the things. But here, he's also on TikTok. But here on Facebook, you can find him here. And we have the pleasure of having him with us live. So as we come back to full circle, the Mandalorian Historian. How are you, sir?
What's going on, everybody? I'm doing good. Thank you for having me. Anytime any Mandalorians want to talk, I like to reach out.
Oh, definitely, man. That's something that we love to do here. Why don't you tell us how you got started in doing all this?
I just wanted to talk about Star Wars, to be honest with you. I'm a big fan of the Mandalorians. Boba Fett was always my favorite character. Grew up playing with this stuff. I got into Star Wars during the 3D special releases when they released everything else back in the theaters. Watched that when I was a kid. The Micro Machine toys, like they made the Micro Machine little miniatures that you could fly around to spaceships. Played with those. Loved the movies. Mandalorian's always been my favorite. Read the books. Really liked the Republic Commando games. That really got me into those novels, and then that picked up in, oh god, Legacy of the Force, I think. I don't know, but always just really loved Mandalorians and just wanted to talk about them. The Mandalorian show came out, and once Boba Fett came out, I just decided to start saying what I thought.
Well, I mean, it's definitely something that I would. If you're a Mandalorian, you're gonna love this guy's page. Watch his videos, click and subscribe, because it's definitely worth your watch and worth your likes. Your last video kind of got me a little bit though. Bo-Katan being the worst.
Oh, I don't like Bo. Like, I like Katie Stackoff. I hope we get a redemption arc, but when it comes to I'm not a big fan of Bo-Katan. I think she's caused a lot of problems. Like I said in my video, I think if you follow the trail she left, she's directly responsible for the siege of Mandalore, or the Night of 1,000 Tears. Like 100%, it was her fault if you look at it. So not a big fan. Not a big fan. Hope she changes. What do you guys think about her being set up as the villain in season 3 so far?
Oh, Dakar, you want to feel that one first?
Well, honestly, I think that'd be almost the only way to go with her, unless they do a complete redemption arc with her. So, I mean, her as a villain, Yeah, I can see it. I can see it very well, actually. Trying to get the Darksaber back from Din in whatever way she can. Yeah, honestly, I think she'd be the best shot at a villain.
Well, I mean, we had that whole little tension on the bridge, and I love the way Moff Gideon was like, "Oh no, she just can't take it." You know what I mean? I thought that was awesome. Simon, what are your thoughts on it?
Honestly, the same thing. I honestly didn't even know that she was going to be portrayed as the main villain. You just said that. But looking back upon it, like you said, Calibus, with that look they all, Moff Gideon had, and the fact that she might have to battle Mando in order to get the Darksaber back, and I think that's going to come into conflict when he goes back to the planet to try to re-get his honor back so that he can call himself a Mandalorian. It could be really interesting because you don't want them to really fight because they're both basically on the same general side, but it's going to be kind of interesting to see how that fight's going to play out and how dirty and violent it's going to get.
Yeah, she's pulled some stuff though. She pulled that thing there, and then of course, on the Mon Calamari planet, she pulled that little
Yeah.
stunt, to get him to help him move the thing.
Yeah, she's
Jedi
definitely
Joe, your
proven.
thoughts? Oh, go ahead, Simon.
I'm sorry, I was just going to add, she's definitely proven that she's got a little bit more politician than Mandalorian in her, in my opinion. With the way she's, figured stuff out, not gone through the proper channels.
Sure. Jedi Joe, your thoughts, sir?
Oh, well, you know what's so bad is anytime you're on a type of discussion like that, everybody has the best answers, and you're left with what the heck am I going to talk about? So I'll jump in and say this. I think it's going to be kind of a start of a love-hate relationship, maybe. She wants the dark saber, and then of course her and Mando are going to maybe battle it out. But it would be kind of nice to maybe see some type of unity. And the Mandalorians, they talk about brotherhood, sisterhood, and everything. We shouldn't be fighting amongst ourselves. So I'm kind of hoping to see something like that. I mean, let's see some butt whipping first, but let's learn from the butt whipping and maybe kind of come together and take care of the real problems in the galaxy versus each other.
Okay. Well, I mean, here's what drew me to the Mandalorians. I had just finished being in this Klingon group, and it just was horrible. The experience was just horrible, fandom wise. And I was thumbing through Star Wars stuff, and there was a quote about, Mandalorian isn't a race; it's a creed. It doesn't matter your background; it doesn't matter your race, your color, your gender, as long as you follow the creed. And I love that about it. And then, of course, the Mandalorian came out, and it just re-sparked everything for Star Wars. And I actually went back and started watching the Clone Wars and Rebels and everything else. And how hyped were you? And I'm gonna start with our guest. How hyped were you when you saw that Darksaber cut through that TIE fighter?
Oh, I couldn't believe they had brought it in. You got to think, like, back when that happened, we really hadn't seen any of the Clone Wars stuff like starting to make an appearance. We've had like little Easter eggs and everything, but once Gideon cut through that door with the Darksaber, it was kind of like cutting through just what has come before, just overall in Star Wars, and it just opened up the floodgates. So I loved it.
It was definitely something that I kind of wish that we would have had the Priory when all that stuff happened. But I mean, because we're really just really getting ourselves in there, and by the second season, that's when I think the Priory was up and running, right, Wyatt? So by the second season, we're up and running, and we do our little watch parties, and we get excited to see all these different things. But as I went on and started, like listening to your little shorts on on the Mandalorian and stuff, you gave me a lot to think about. Of course, then there's talking with Simon, who always gives you that, oh, well, if you look at it like this, you know what I mean? Have you guys heard that supposedly there's a spinoff coming from the Mandalorian that's supposed to be in production?
Yeah, that what is it? Ghost Track 17, I think it is.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I did a video on that the other day. From what I've seen, there's two big theories right now. One, since it has Ghost in the name, it's going to be like a continuation of Rebels that's live action that takes place after Ahsoka. And then the other big theory I heard going around is it's the rumored Bo-Katan show, or that, because remember, we were going to get Rangers of the Republic. That wasn't supposed to be the tie-in. That got canceled. And then it was rumored that Bo-Katan was going to get a spinoff to take care of whatever was going to happen in Rangers of the Republic. But that's the second rumor. It could be that. Personally, I don't care either way. I'm happy. I just like the Mandoverse, the way everything connects. I mean, that's what makes Star Wars good. It's a reason I'm not the biggest fan of the sequels. I think it was just too all over the place. They didn't have a story planned out going through, and that's what I like about The Mandalorian. It's the reason I'm excited about Ahsoka. Like, most people got mad about the Book of Boba Fett, but when it comes to the Book of Boba Fett, that was really just supposed to be a mid-season of The Mandalorian. It's why it's called the Book of Boba Fett, because it's a book and an overall story. So I think I enjoyed that. I'm looking forward to Skeleton Crew. Sounds kind of like Stranger Things in space, but that's supposed to connect as well. So anything coming out that's connected to the Mandoverse now, I'm down for.
I hear that. You guys' thoughts on that?
Honestly, it was I'd heard a couple of those rumors. I didn't know all the information. PJ just enlightened me with a lot of stuff. You know, I don't have the time to look at all the boards and all the messages and stuff. So that's really great. That Skeleton Crew sounds really cool. Everything else I really like. I wish, there was enough time for me to have my own ideas be brought in. I always thought the idea of a Star Wars group, of where there was this planet that held, all the weird stuff in the Star Wars universe, sort of like a Emperor's, hidden world treasure planet, that he keeps all the dangerous stuff, and there's just a unit there, and they have everything, and it's a TV show, and they walk by, and you see several helmets, and one of the helmets is a Mandalorian helmet that looks really weird. It's just from an ancient Mandalorian who had incredible power, and then all of a sudden you see like a helmet from Halo on the other shelf, and you just walk on by. It's sort of like a little Easter egg, involving different warrior races in different realms. And as it turns out, there's actually something like a Stargate, and you go to different parts of the universe, and that's where they're getting a lot of these different items. That's my personal fandom. I know I'm going off the little rails a little bit, but that's what I wanted to see. And to know that there's that many stories coming out that are like that, like what he described, I'm really loving it.
Well, I mean, with Ahsoka, we're still talking about the world amongst worlds.
Yes,
they're actually talking about, we might see some of that. You know what I mean? So
we might see a whole new galaxy if everything I'm hearing is true. I don't know how crazy that'd be. But right now there's so much stuff coming out of Ahsoka because, like you said, world between worlds.
Well, that'd be interesting, and that'd be a way to distance the sequels. I mean, everybody's like, oh, stop hating on the sequels. You don't understand. No, I understand. It's just I don't like it. I got it when I saw it, and believe it or not, I wasn't too keen on the prequels until the sequels came out, and then I was like, you know what? They're not that bad, compared to what I just saw. It had so much of left so much of a distaste in my mouth that I was just dying for something with some normalcy to it, something that, like you said, stayed together, wasn't all fragmented. And showed the arcs of different characters with their development versus just coming out of the box mind tricking stormtroopers and taking on people with Jedi training. It just was a little bit of a disappointment. We got Mark joining us. Yeah, well, you might see it, Mark. It definitely coming around with, like I said, with the Ahsoka thing, and now we have this new show that's going to be a spinoff. And I kind of hope Bo does get her shot at redemption. Maybe that's how she gets her shot at it, hopefully. Does anybody have a question for the Mandalorian historian?
Yeah. Hey, PJ. Simon. So there was I know you don't like Bo-Katan, and I think we all kind of understand the whole, she brought that curse and the tragedy to Mandalore. But it could also have been Darth Maul when he took the Darksaber. Yes, he won it in combat, but even though he is an alien to Mandalore, he wasn't a Mandalorian beforehand. So I'm not sure if you have to win it from another Mandalorian by being a Mandalorian at the same time, or can anyone just come in from any society and then take that?
I mean, don't hold me to it, but as far as I know, in Legends specifically, if it's similar to the Mandalore's mask, it's whoever kills Mandalore got the mask was Mandalore. The thing is, with the Darksaber, we don't really know enough about that, the way it works. Like, especially when we see the armor in the Book of Boba Fett, she says the wielder of the Darksaber has the right to rule Mandalore, that you're not the Mandalore. So I don't know. Honestly, like, the way I look at it, especially in Legends, like, let's talk Knights of the Old Republic. I think that Darth Revan was technically the leader of the Mandalorians when he got Mandalore's mask, because that's the way the mask legend worked. For the Darksaber, Bo-Katan cared a lot about Mandalorian tradition, so when Darth Maul defeated her and got the Darksaber, she should have accepted him as the ruler. So she sparked something else, which eventually led to the clones landing to have to fight Maul, and that's how the Empire got a foothold on Mandalore.
Yeah. Man. So what did you think of Darth Revan?
I will, as much as any space wizard, I'm not a big fan of Jedis. I like Mandalorians because, one, like you said, it doesn't matter who you are. You want to be a Mandalorian, you live your life as a Mandalorian. And then they're the one faction in Star Wars. They don't need magical powers. They don't need anything like that. It's just people who've trained themselves to be the best that they are using technology. They can stand against the Jedi. So they don't need help. They don't need space magic.
Jedi Joe, your thoughts on the space magic of your kind, sir?
Well, number one, PJ, I think that's your name.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Well, number one, it's really nice to be talking to you. I haven't had a chance to check out some of your shorts, so I definitely will check that out. And I'm like you. I grew up in the Star Wars. I'm kind of more from Legends and the Old Republic era. I got into the Jedi side of things simply because I'm a martial artist. It's my thing. But I have some good friends that are Mandalorians, and some of them are right here in front of us today. But I think what I like about the Mandalorians is the fact that they have more of a family type of, they look after each other, their creed and everything. The Jedi, they have more of a martial arts standards type thing, but to say that I dislike any other faction, no, because I have friends that cosplay and all my favorite characters. But I think we could all agree that Jar Jar Binks was not one of the best characters that came around the pipe. But I really look forward to checking out your shows. And just in the short amount of time I've heard you talk and everything, and Calibus, if you wouldn't mind, I'd like to invite our PJ here to maybe one of our round tables. I'm sure that he would enjoy that as well. But yes, I'm a Jedi, so hopefully you don't dislike me too bad.
Oh no, I give Jedi a hard time, but at the end of the day, I get every Star Wars. It's all joking around. I mean, you got to joke around. I mean, it's the Jedi's fault that Mandalore is a wasteland during the Jedi Mandalorian Wars. Like, y'all won, but did you have to nuke Mandalore? Like, we don't know what happened there yet. I want to know. I was hoping maybe we'll get something like that with the Tales of the Jedi, like figure something out with like Tar Vizsla or something, because I really need to know what the Mandalorians did in canon that was so bad that the Republic and the Jedi basically nuked their whole planet. Like, I'm curious.
Well, I mean, let's face it. If I can't cut you with my laser sword, then what else am I going to do? I might as well blow your ass away.
Well, I was also thinking about that. The fact, like you said, I think it was the fact that the Emperor knew. He knew if they won't submit, they've got to go. You know what I mean? Because we were the only things, Mandalorian-wise, since he got rid of the Jedi, his only other threat was the Mandalorians.
100%.
Yeah, he couldn't have that. You know what I mean? I mean, I remember watching that scene. And I know it upset Dakar because like it cut in the middle of it was supposed to be Book of Boba Fett, and all of a sudden the Mandalorian comes in here. And I'm sitting there like, okay, I'm back. I don't care. Let it roll. And then you see the Night of 1,000 Tears. And I'm just like, wow. And then when they just bombed the dome, I don't think Rebels did it justice. I mean, they gave us a story, but the impact we didn't get to see like you got to see it in live action was just.
We still don't know exactly what the Mandalorians did to cause that. Like, we know they were fighting towards the end of the Rebels. They were fighting for control and everything. But like, how bad did it get that the Empire was like, nah, we're done. We're just gonna eradicate. Like, that's people like bombing Mandalore. Like, I guess that's the only way you deal with Mandalorians.
Most deaf. I was also thinking about, like you said, with the Mask of Mandalore and how the Mandalorian culture came about. And I did see your video where they were on the basilisks. And that's funny because Star Wars Online, you can get one of those. And my Mandalorian rides on one. And I didn't really know the history of it. I mean, I went back and I said, oh, Mandalorians ride these things. Okay, cool. But then when you started explaining it, it explained it a lot to me. So I wanted to definitely let you know I appreciated that because I didn't really do the research.
They're my favorite. They're sentient, so they mind meld basically with you, and you can control them, and they can rip through starfighters. That man, my big want is like if we find some Mandalorian tech, like I have a theory that they'll find a new mine with Beskar probably during season 3 and give them a new source of Beskar. They can start being Mandalorians again. But there's a lot of people that think that they might find like ancient Mandalorian weapons in a basilisk, and I'd lose my shit if a basilisk showed up in live action.
Oh man, yeah. I think we all would. I think. Oh, Jedi Joe, what you got?
Actually, PJ, I had a question for you there, bud. So you saw in the episode where Mando is kind of sort of admitting to the armorer what he had done by taking off his helmet, and I can deeply understand and respect what the creed means and everything, but it seems like, if you were in a life or death situation, and in that situation he was, I'm kind of really surprised that he was basically stripped of his title. That would be kind of disrespectful. Like if I turn around and took my Jedi saber and just threw it at my master, then I could get being punished and being, hey, you're out of the order. But if I had to relinquish something to save my life or whatever, even if it was going against the code, I had to save my life. It seemed like she had no remorse for him at all. Could you maybe help me understand that?
Bo-Katan says it best. They're a cult. Like the Children of the Watch they're the fanat. You have Death Watch, which is who the Civil War was fought during the Clone Wars with the Mandalorians. And then Children of the Watch seems to be a subgroup of that is even more hardcore. And that's the reason Bo-Katan, when she meets him, she's like, oh, he's one of them, because other there's quite a few Mandalorian factions. Now that we know Jaster Morrell is canon, that was Jango Fett's dad in Legends. There's a potential that the true Mandalorians might show up. That was his faction. Jaster Morrell led those, and Jango Fett in Legends actually was the leader of that before he fled into hiding. They were, like I said, that was a civil war that took part. I might be wrong on that. I'm going to do a read through. I don't do Wikipedia. I've just read everything growing up, so sometimes I am wrong. But I think we'll see Din discovering what it is for him to be a Mandalorian. Like I don't think he'll end up being Children of the Watch. Like I think he'll end up leaving that group behind. I think he might actually bring that group into what he ends up forming. I think he will end up being the leader of the Mandalorians, and the new Mandalorians that we get will be based off of what he believes in. And he's going to have to come up with something that can make Bo-Katan's people happy, Children of the Watch happy, because if the Mandalorians need anything right now, it's to be united. So they're going to have to make some concessions either way.
I appreciate that answer, because that's what I've been kind of thinking that would happen anyways, because of his situation and the fact that he does have the dark saber. He's got to have some type of leverage. They're going to have to respect him in some sort of way. They might as well start by relaxing a little bit, and not being a prick.
Yeah, like you said, he has a dark saber, so technically what he says goes. You either get on board or you don't. I think the scene in the Book of Boba Fett where Din decides to stay with Boba Fett, and then he's like, we'll die together in honor or whatever, and then after that they say this is the way. I think that's kind of a hint at what they'll eventually turn into, because Boba Fett technically isn't a Mandalorian. He's never accepted the creed in Disney canon. But Boba Fett lives a Mandalorian life, especially now. His whole wanting family and everything like that, that's all Mandalorian. That's the reason him and Din decided to stay with him, because to him, that was his brother. It was more than a job. They were fighting together for honor. So I think we'll eventually see some of that rub off on Din. I think that's one of the reasons we've seen Book of Boba Fett, because they said that was supposed to bridge through, I think, the stuff with Grogu. Seeing Din's evolution without Grogu is just setting us up to go into season 3 just blazing.
What do you think of that new ship that he's got? Because I love the Razor Crest. When I saw it, I loved it. And then, of course, Hasbro brings it out where you can, crowdfund it. I do it. And then the episode later, they blow it up.
He's done bounty hunting. Can't bounty hunt with it. So I did a video about that. It being just, I mentioned one time that I think the Razor Crest signified in his story that there is no turning back from that moment. Like, you're no simple bounty hunter anymore. Just you're in the wars. So step it up.
Oh, okay. I like the sound of that. That gives me, I kind of though wish they didn't blow, I mean, after you pay $300 for something and you see it go up on screen, you get a little disheartened. You know what I mean? I'm really willing to. No, I'm not. I don't want to wait anymore. I really want it now. I really wanted it right after I saw those 2 episodes in the Book of Boba Fett. But I think in this next season, what do you all hope to see in it? Me personally, where it's really going to be about Mandalore and being on the planet of Mandalore. Seeing more of the Mandalorian culture. So what are you hoping to see out of this season? I'm going to start with the car.
Well, I'm going to go with what PJ said a little bit ago, man. I'd like them to find a mine or something on planet that could have, our old history and technology. I mean, I'd love to see that. That would be just absolutely one of the best. And I do want to see where Din is going to be. And I want to see if Boba Fett ends up joining him on Mandalore.
Yeah, I keep forgetting you're a big Boba Fett fan. I don't know why I do, but yeah, you and your Boba Fett. Sai,
Hey, man.
Your thoughts, sir?
I think it'd be really cool to find a treasure trove of ancient Mandalorian war droids, basilisks and other items. Just even if it's just somewhere in the corner, as they walk through like vaults and stuff. That's what I'd really like to see. And I know this is gonna sound silly, but I was a big fan of the novels with the Mandalorian commandos, during the Clone Wars. I would like to see some of the chants or some of the credos that I saw in the books in the show. Even if they make up new ones, I would love to see that.
Okay. Jedi Joe?
Well, I think basically you guys kind of said it right. Because I am a Jedi, I am more or less a learner of the Mandalorians. So I would probably say it would be more of a interest for me to know more about the characters, about their life, their creed, that sort of thing. But I wouldn't say this unless my wife, because she's a big Grogu fan. I'm kind of also trying to see if Mando is going to do something with Grogu in some way, to training and everything. What is that going to be about? And then of course, if he's going to be the one to rebuild the Mandalorian clan and that sort of thing. That's what I'm kind of looking forward to, just in itself.
And our honored guest, your thoughts on season 3, sir?
I think season 3 is going to be, like everyone else said, it's going to be focused a lot on I think it's going to be centered around Mandalorian. We need some more answers about the backstory, so I think we'll get more of that. I don't think we'll get a massive drop scene or anything, but kind of like the scene with the armor where she just gave us some of the behind the scenes stuff, more information about the Darksaber and stuff like that, because there's a lot of people that haven't watched Rebels and haven't watched Clone Wars that are going to need to be introduced to a lot of the different clan factions and everything. So I think we might get some flashback scenes. I think we might see a young Din maybe actually taking a creed, showing what it's like to grow up as a Mandalorian. I think we'll see Bo-Katan eventually. I think she might be mad at Din at the beginning, but I think if she was going to try for that Darksaber, she would have never let him leave that ship with Luke Skywalker. So I'm not sure if she'll be the protagonist, especially in Rebels, where she originally didn't want the Darksaber. She just wanted to help Sabine lead, but she ended up being talked into it and she took it, and it turned into a complete disaster. So I don't think she'll take that step again. So I think her and the crew probably find a mine, something like that. And as for like what the big threat's going to be right now, I have no idea. It's just based off of what I've seen. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, that was something that, you know what, I never thought about the big threat, the big bad. What would be the big bad? You know, obviously we know there's tension between Bo and Din, but there's got to be that, you know, does Moff Gideon escape and go to Mandalore, or, you know what I mean? That was it the remnants of the Empire. As a matter of fact, I've got a remnant stormtrooper sitting over here that I got from the Mando box, Funko Pops. And I was just kind of thinking about, is the Empire going to try to ramp up, or, you know, or is that going to be something that we see in the Ahsoka series when Thrawn comes back?
We got three connected series coming out this year, so I'm curious as well. Like, is the Mandalorian, does it just show the Mandalorian setting up and a little bit of story, and maybe they're dealing with Moff Gideon, and that leads to something that sets up Ahsoka? Or is Ahsoka just going to show up as a side character again, and then that's just going to be like her main story is not going to overarch like the way they did Boba Fett? Boba Fett was key to what happened at the end of Mandalorian season 2. Like, he wasn't on that ship, but the whole getting everything set up, if it wasn't for him, Grogu would have been captured. So I wonder if we get something like that at the end. I'm just curious how they're going to tie Ahsoka in and see, or if Ahsoka's even going to really tie in. Maybe her connection was with the Book of Boba Fett, and her story will pick up after that. I'm curious how they're doing the timing of the shows.
Most definitely. Well, look, guys, I like to try to keep them a little bit short, these episodes, because, you know, no one really watches over. You know, and after 30 minutes, we kind of like, all right, these guys are just talking. But, man, PJ, would love to have you come back on the show. As Jedi Joe says, he is the co-founder and president of the 757 Geek Fandoms. And every 2 weeks, we do a roundtable where we just come on and talk about the fandoms. And sometimes it might be Star Wars, sometimes it might be something else, but we just talk fandom. And the invitation is there for you, sir, if you'd like to join us.
Oh yeah, just let me know. If I'm around, I'll jump on. I'll actually be getting busy though. Heads up, because I gotta start back to work. Like I said, I've been a degenerate this weekend and just played video games. Got out some good videos. So that helps out. I'm biding time, man. They pushed Mandalorian back, and then they pushed it back again, and then they were like, it's coming in February, and then they're like, nah, now it's March. And one of the things that drives me crazy about Star Wars right now is it's like they'll announce something, and then we immediately get a delay later on, and then they're like, but we're giving you 2 episodes. And then you need those 2 episodes, because without them, like, you guys watch the latest Bad Batch episode?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like if you didn't get that second episode, that would have been a huge letdown, because that left on a cliffhanger. So
Yeah.
like you guys were talking about Andor. I liked Andor. I thought the story was great. I didn't like the way it was cut up, and I didn't like the way they did the releases, the weekly releases. I think if they would have trimmed, if they would have just released everything at once, I think Andor would have done a lot better besides the weekly releases, because over time they just kept losing a lot of people who weren't that interested. Like, hardcore Star Wars fans were going to watch anything, but the more casual fans, they didn't know who Andor was really, and they didn't really care to stay around to learn.
Normies.
Yeah, well, I mean, not only that, but here's the thing. They're so desperate to put Andor out. They put it on Hulu. No other Star Wars Disney show is on Hulu.
Oh, I made some people mad with that one.
You know what I mean? They just don't have numbers.
It was Hulu, NBC, or no, ABC,
Yeah.
FX, and it was something else they owned. And I was like, they're trying to get people interested. And man, I got so much hate on TikTok. I I was just like, oh, y'all can yell at me all you want. It doesn't change the facts. Like,
Exactly. I mean,
Yeah.
we were talking about that just the other day, and you know, my thing is with my job here, doing all this is unfortunately I'm exposed to all of this stuff all the time, all the things, and it started seeing all the patterns and stuff, and I'm like, okay, I can't even deal with it anymore. Look, this is what it is. I can tell you what it is, but I can't go any further with that. You guys are gonna have to make up your own mind. Because every group I go in, I'm like, look, I just didn't feel it. And or just even at the end, their big reveal of the Death Star, they were help building the Death Star dish. I was kind of like, that's it.
every third episode, you could watch every third episode in that series and not really miss a thing.
Yeah. It just crazy.
Pacing
Now-
was a big problem.
Now, what about Kenobi?
Kenobi. I love the fight with, you know, Vader dragging him over the coals and all that. And I know I'm gonna get a lot of flack for this. They boosted Leia and they punked out Luke. Like Luke had no,
Well-
he's just racing on the thing, and then they made Leia like
That they boxed herself in. He can't. Like, he couldn't meet Luke. That would have broke the whole canon if he would have met Luke in that series. So they went after, like, Disney's had a real big trope right now with doing the father taking care of the kid. Bad Batch is just about 4 fathers taking care of Omega, who's the daughter, and then Grogu is a child Mandalorian's taking care of. Then we had Kenobi, which was Obi-Wan Kenobi trying to rescue Leia. And, like, don't get me wrong, I didn't hate the series. I wasn't impressed with Kenobi. I thought it looked kind of cheap, and I thought that they just boxed herself in. Nothing major can happen in that series without completely disrupting the whole Star Wars. So you knew they were going to play it safe. Like, there's not much you can do, and at that point they should have just went all out on fan service. And we got one scene with Hayden Christian fight scene, and then, like, he was standing off in the distance that once, and that was it. We didn't get any Clone War flashbacks and stuff like that, which I wouldn't enjoyed. Like, there's a lot of great stories in the Clone Wars that are begging to be live action. You're telling me that we couldn't get one flashback with Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin and on the front lines and see what a Clone Wars battle really looked like? I think they kind of took the cheap route out and played us, to be honest with you.
Well, again, my thing is they do this duality story thing, and it's kind of like, okay, here's Obi-Wan, but oh, wait a minute, here's this Sith Inquisitor that we really want you to fall in love with. And you at first you start to kind of like, this character ain't worth anything. We all got together and we started piecing it together like, hey, Vader did this. She has to be one of the children. That's why she, okay. And then we see it. We're right. We're all ecstatic for it. But to be honest with you, she should have died. She should have died on that planet. To her carry
they
on.
want spin-off.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Spin-off. That's it. That's why she survived. Like, I like the Inquisitors, don't get me wrong, but, like, they are very, like, low down on the list of Force abilities. Like, they Obi-Wan should just dust them. Like, if he would have been at the top of his power, they ain't a problem. Like, and they ain't the big threat. So you got Vader, and Vader just does some scary stuff. The fight with him at the end was cool. I like that. I like when Vader and Obi-Wan finally faced off. Vader had the high ground again, and Obi-Wan got out. He's just sitting there throwing rocks at him from above. Or Vader got the high ground that time. My bad. But I enjoyed parts of the series. But like I said, you can't. If they're sticking to canon, you can't do much in that time period. Everything's too set up. Like, they found cool ways around Rebels, like to start teasing Rebels and everything. The whole thing with Maul ending up on Tatooine, that was amazing.
Yeah.
So there's ways to play around it. They've done it before. It's just with the show they didn't. I don't know. I think they were just going with a goofy little show. I think they completely misread what people really wanted.
Well, we've been getting a lot of that lately, haven't we? I mean,
Feedback. That's all we can do. Leave feedback. Try not to get in arguments because people get so mad so easily. So just try to be nice. Try to state your opinion in a nice way and ignore the people that can't agree. Like the fandom's got a lot better, I will say. Like Mandalorian helped out a lot after. I've seen it get really bad twice. I've seen when the prequels came out, it got really bad. People forgot how much hate the prequels got. Like it was very, very bad. Not as bad as the sequels though. The sequels, that was very nasty because we had social media, so it got very, very bad.
and don't forget, we had the fandom menace.
Man.
Those guys, when those guys get together, and
Who's the one guy on YouTube? It starts with a Z. He's always coming up with.
Oh my God, Mike Zero.
Yeah, I've never heard one of that dude's theories like ever come true. I had to start hitting block so they'd stop coming up. I was like, oh my God. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I am disappointed with what we've got somewhat. Like, I speak my mind on what I like. I speak my mind on what I don't like. Like, my whole thing is just talking about Star Wars. It's like what I want to do. And I don't hate anybody that likes the sequels. Like, everybody has their Star Wars. I like the original movies. They are my favorite. Nothing will ever come close to them. I like the prequels second. It's taken me time. I did not like the prequels when they first came out. Clone Wars helped out a lot there. So maybe we can fix the sequels. The Mandalorians is supposed to be before and is supposed to be leading to that story, but with the stuff I'm hearing from Ahsoka, it looks like they might be completely ditching the sequels. Like if the Ahsoka stuff plans out and those rumors are true and there is a new galaxy and the whole Mandalorian is going to be dealing with a threat out there while all the mess goes on back home, like that's a very convenient way to get around it. And Disney knows they have a big problem because right now they can't continue the story of Star Wars without making sure everybody is on board, or else it's just going to be a disaster. You can say what you want about the sequels, but the third movie in that made what, less than the first? So
yeah, they just kept going down as they went on. I was telling everybody when it first came out, I said this one's going to be a hit because we haven't had Star Wars in over 30 years. Everybody's going to go see it. That second one gutted me. I don't talk about The Last Jedi. I don't talk about The Last Jedi. It just gutted me. So then we started doing Star Wars talk. And now I'm like, I have to go to the theater to see a movie I don't want to see. And I know I don't want to see it because I saw some of the trailers for it. But, we do a show. Me and my partner, Fang, so we had to do it. So we go to the theater, we broadcast a little bit from the theater, and I left there just kind of just confused and hurt. I was just like, really?
They rode horses on a starty shore. In space.
They were space horses.
Oh, God. Look,
I bought a magazine for the first time. I took my wife and daughter up. They wanted to buy some anime, and I went and bought one of the Star Wars magazines, and I opened it up when I got home, and it was a big, high-quality gloss picture of those space horses talking about learn about the creature from Star Wars or whatever. I was like, oh, man. I wasted $15.
Oh.
But I'll let you guys go. I'll sit here and talk wars all day.
Oh, no. It's been great, man. We're going to have you back anytime that you want. We're going to have you back on with us. And we can talk, again, we can talk Mandalorian. We can talk Bad Batch. We do this show every 2 weeks. Most of our shows are every 2 weeks now. But it was definitely a pleasure having you here. Again, like Jedi Joe said, man, we're going to extend the invitation for you to come on over there. We'll just pop the link in there if you can make it. That's great. If you can't, we understand. You know, real life comes first. But I want everybody, once again, before we go, so you guys see this, check this page out. Like, again, he's also on TikTok, but this is his page on Facebook.
I post everything on TikTok. I cheat and have a way to re-upload everything, so I'm mostly on TikTok.
Well, check him out on TikTok.
Instagram is fun. I don't know Instagram. I got into TikTok because I needed to learn how to do it. Like I said, I do social media, so I picked that one. I like the short form content though. It's fun to get 1 minute ideas out, and a lot of people just use Wikipedia pages. Like I said, I don't really like Wikipedia because if you just read the wiki, you lose out a lot of meaning on what really went on, especially when it comes to legends. Like they'll say stuff like, "Oh, well, Darth Caedus or Jason Solo became Darth Caedus because he was fearful for his daughter." Yes, that's right. It started like that, or that was the final step, but it started when he went basically full light side on the bridge of the Yuzari Vong ship, and he kept chasing that power is why he went to the dark side. And you don't get that in Wikipedia. So I just try to, like I said, I've read way too much, read too many books, too many comics. Got to get it out of the head somehow. So started making videos. So thanks for having me, though. I enjoy always talking with everybody.
We definitely enjoy having you here, and I just want to, as we close out, I just want to get with you, so don't go anywhere. Everyone, thank you again for joining us here at the Covert. My brother Dakar, Jedi Joe, our historian, and now we have our guest, the Mandalorian historian. And again, TikTok. You can also find him on Facebook, but TikTok.
Mandalorian historian everywhere.
All right, guys. I will see you in 2 weeks as we talk again about our Bad Batch, or who knows what we'll get into. But most likely it'll be the Bad Batch because so far that's what's grabbed our attention.